saying earlier, quite often we have negative internal dialogue. This is the opposite. Negative internal dialogue is like anti-NLP, anti-neurolinguistic programming, which I feel the need to explain now. Does everyone know what neurolinguistic programming is? I'm going to write it down for you anyway, and give you a little explanation, just to make sure, because there are many different definitions of it. And it's called neuro, so it means about your neurology, your brain. Linguistic, which is used to define the language that we use, and then programming. So it's how we use language to make a connection between our mind and how we feel. So it's how we use language. And it can be how other people use language, or how you speak to yourself. For instance, if you were to say, oh my goodness, I've got to speak and I'm going to be terrible. Oh my goodness, everyone's going to think I'm a complete loser. Guess what's going to happen? That's how you're going to feel. Whatever you really want to achieve, you're going to feel how you think you're going to feel. So you're doing anti-NLP if you start beating yourself up. And this is why Jasper's going to do a technique for you a bit later, because controlling your internal dialogue is really important. What I tend to say to myself when I have negative thoughts is, I smile and I think, okay, that's my ego talking again. And I think, oh, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing that concern. Because when we have a concern, it's because we care. It's because we don't want to mess things up, which is great. Because that means that we then have the motivation and determination to do something about it. So it's great to a point, as long as it doesn't affect you. And really, when it comes down to it, whenever you have this, it's your ego speaking. Because your ego wants to keep you small. Your ego wants you to remain the same. Because no one's ego likes change. It's all about safety, it's about self-preservation. And if you were to suddenly change everything, then you'd be panic-stricken. So your ego's saying, don't change, don't grow, stay small. And no one wants to change, stay small, do they? Does anyone here want to stay small? No. Exactly. We all want to grow and develop, which means we have to challenge our internal dialogue. We have to challenge our egos. If you think of the ocean, if you can just imagine in your mind the most magnificent sea, lots of waves, beautiful ocean, it could be on your favourite beach, it could be wherever you want it to be. I'd like you to zone in on just one little wave lapping into the shore. That is your ego. Your ego is like that one little wave. Only your ego thinks it is the entire ocean. Your ego thinks it is the entirety of you. So that's what we're working with. We're working with a tiny part of us that thinks it is us. And so it's about creating some kind of separation, thinking, this is my ego speaking, but I'm here. I'm entirely separate. And my ego is serving a purpose. My ego wants to preserve me, to help me. But unfortunately, it's not always the best or most important thing. So what we need to do is see through that emotion. See through what the purpose is. So if we're feeling anxiety, it's because we care, isn't it? How many people would agree with that? If you feel anxiety, it's because you care. So I definitely would. How many? Yeah? Pretty much everyone. Good. So when we feel anxiety, it's because we care, because we want something to go really well. And that's all that's happening. So it's about really seeing through that emotion and doing things that will empower you. So if you're feeling anxious because you haven't done any preparation, then that's natural. And what can you do then to counter that? If you haven't done any preparation and you're feeling anxious, what will really reassure your ego? Does anyone know what will reassure your ego? No? Preparation. Preparation would make you feel a whole lot better. Because then you're doing that one thing that your ego needs to feel calmer. So a lot of the time, it's as simple as that. It's about preparing, or it's about making a phone call, or it's about doing something that you're procrastinating about. Like for me, I needed to tell my landlord and my landlady that I'm planning to move out, because I'm going to get my own apartment in a couple of months. So I needed to tell them, and I wanted to give them plenty of notice. But I was so worried, they'd be really upset, because the reason they have people living in their house is because they can't afford not to. So finally, I managed to pluck up the courage yesterday to tell them that I'm moving out and to give my explanation. And now I feel so much better. And I waited for 2 weeks without telling them, because I thought, oh, I just want to leave it and be really sure before I tell them. And now I feel better. So that anxiety that I was feeling was telling me, don't do this because it's change. Don't do this because you're going to offend someone. But as soon as I did it, I felt fine. So it's about listening to that and acting upon it. So for me, it was about preparing something nice, thinking about what I wanted to say really nice and carefully, so I didn't offend them, and so the situation ran smoothly. And this really, as I was just saying, is what NLP is about. It's about tapping into your own resources, and either by seeing a coach, or by working on yourself, which I want to enable you all to do, to understand what's going on internally, and to serve a purpose, to do something that will empower you, to make you feel more confident. Okay, is that clear for everyone? Yes, do you have a clear understanding of what NLP is? Good, that's great.